strongest, and I found out this one is the strongest is because it's more compressed than most of them. And these are the materials, and I kind of spelled this one wrong. But it's all spelled right here. And I did this because some people like to make paper airplanes or like use paper for other things. And I thought paper airplanes will fly better with stronger paper since it has less wind resistance and it'll just go farther. So yeah.
I studied electric motor. I had two models. The first one was about this big. It had some sewing needles on the sides. Mine was about this big. The same wiring, but things weren't like exactly the way they needed to be, so it didn't work. And I tried for a very, very long time. And then I made this one because it's a lot more simpler.
So how many cookies did you go through, and how much of your experiment did you eat?
Well, I made 4, and then I had about 12 cookies, so I ate 8 cookies, I think. Yeah, I ate 8 cookies, and then I put these 4 as a result.
I did different brands of 6-pound fishing line.
Okay.
And I had to do 2 tests. I had to do a strength test and a weight test. And I would take all of the lines and I bind them up on here for the strength test, and then I pulled this lever until they all broke. And then the weight test, I just took one, like separate, and put it on here and turned this on and saw what the poundage was. And my guess was this was going to be the strongest, but it came out to be the weakest. And this came to be the strongest, and it went above what it was supposed to.
So why did you think that one was going to be the strongest?
Because it's what we always use when I go fishing.
So this is called the fans of power, like you said. And my hypothesis is that the antique 1960 model cast iron fan will blow 5 cups the farthest distance.
Okay.
And so, the question is, which fan will blow over the cups the farthest? And my purpose of this science experiment is to prove that antique or vintage fans are better than the 2015 models and future models as well.
Okay.
So let's get started with conducting experiment.
Okay.
I aimed this fan down at the cups, put it on low, medium, high. It didn't blow over any cups. So then I plugged this one in, which it has 1 speed, and it's a 1960, so it's old. Takes a little bit to start up. It makes a cool noise when it starts up, though. And I aimed it down, and it blew cup number 5, 24.5 inches. So my hypothesis was correct.
Well, I studied like the process of fermentation and like how it works. So fermentation is kind of a last resort thing for plants to use to make energy if they don't have the sun's light. So if you ate a cookie, that cookie has sugars in it, and it will travel through your bloodstream and to individual cells. The yeast inside the cells will eat up that sugar and create energy. I kind of recreated it with graduated cylinders, balloons, yeast, sugar, and water. And the yeast, over time, the yeast and the sugar, it was reacting, it was fermentating, and the carbon dioxide and alcohol in there made it rise up, and this is the carbon dioxide bubbles with the sugar and water, and that made the balloon explode, but nothing got inside the balloon. But I'm sure it would have if I left it for a long time.
It's almost like starting a fire with a magnifying glass. And so you angle it in the sun correctly and it makes a small focal point on your paper. And it took about 10 minutes for the fire to light. So if you need to fire really fast, it's probably not going to be the best. But, so the reason it works is the photons. And they're little particles of light that come from the sun. And they reach, and the water bottle and plastic focus it on a really small point, about that big, and it gets and most of the energy in photons are heat, And so when it's all focused on a really small point, it reaches about 450 to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and after a certain amount of time, it'll light on fire. And so my question, I wanted to know if different types of paper would affect it. So I used copy paper, binder paper, cardstock, and construction paper. So I thought that the cardstock and construction paper would light, but it'd take longer.
Now,
So-
why did you think that? Because it's a thicker paper? or-
Yeah, because it's thicker, I mean, it has more materials, things like that. And so when I did it, it actually turned out the copy paper, this one was the only kind that would light.
Okay, so what did you learn from it?
I learned that you can't just use just like baking soda and just vinegar and just like throw it all together. You have to take your time with it, or else it will just be very sloppy.
Okay. Did you expect that coming into it, or?
No, I thought you just could like just build a volcano or just take a cup and just pour a little bit in of each and it just would go. But you have to make measurements and stuff.
So my question was like, which brand of chocolate melted the fastest? So was the chocolate melted the fastest? It took 6 minutes, 50 seconds.
Okay.
So it took 11 minutes to
And what did you use to heat the chocolate?
a heat lamp.
Okay.
That'd be 12 inches height.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Great. So were the results what you thought they would be?
No.
No?
I thought the cookie and cream will melt first, but I did.
Now, why did you think that one was going to melt first?
Because it's just cream and cream melts like really fast. So I thought
Okay.
it would. Sometimes when you put like a mint in your mouth, it will feel cold. So I checked to see if you put mints in water, if it will actually cool temperature. I did this experiment because a lot of people have been asking this question to me ever since 3rd grade, and I started loving Mentos and Tic Tacs.
Okay. Great. So what did you do to test this?
I put them in water, and I took a digital and glass thermometer and measured if they made any changes of temperature.
Okay, great. What did you expect coming into the experiment?
I expected them to at least change a little bit of temperature because I mean the sensation is cold, but
So what did you learn?
I learned that it does not change the temperature of the water.
What did you learn from it?
I learned that some drinks are healthier than others.
Some drinks you don't think have a lot of sugar actually
like-
have quite a bit,
Yeah,
right?
like this one, like 100% pure squeezed orange juice, like that has sugar in it. Just really mind blowing.
Right.
My experiment was to see which bullet has the better performance between 50 yards, 100 yards, and 150 yards.
Okay.
And so my hypothesis is that I was guessing that 100 yards would be the best because it wouldn't be too far away or too close. And so I started off by shooting the Hornet Galore, and I actually this one wasn't that good because at 50 yards. At 50 yards, I would aim for the hard, but I only got one bullet on it.
I thought that the white vinegar was going to work better because it has more acid in it.
Okay.
And
What did you find out?
I found out that it worked better by 3 hours.
Okay. So how did you test it? What did you do in the process to determine that?
I tested it by minutes, but then I just kind of, because it wouldn't let me do the hours. And every once in a while, I'd get up and check it. And when I finally figured out that the red wine vinegar went out, I figured, oh, well, my hypothesis was right.
Okay, so I did this project. It was about which type of salt melts ice the fastest.
Okay.
And I did 3 salts. I did extra salt, sea salt, and then like regular table salt.
Okay.
And I did this one because I thought it'd be interesting to see what kind of reaction the salts would have with the water.
So which salt did you think going in would do the best?
Well, I was going to think that Epsom salt was going to do the best because it's made up of magnesium sulfate, and this salt is just sodium chloride, and that's also sodium chloride, and it
actually turned out that the sea salt did best. And the reason that it melts the ice is because when you put the salt over the ice like sheet, it lowers the freezing point of the water.
Okay.
And so really it practically lowered it and melted it.
I was looking for what acid or sulfur would corrode the metal the most.
Okay.
And I did that because I like to burn stuff or melt stuff. And my dad said that acid melted stuff, so I just thought I would try to melt stuff with acid.
Okay.
And
So why did you choose these different types of acids? What made you decide between the different ones?
well, I used water because it was a control variable, and I used my egg because it has sulfur in it.
Okay.
I used lemons because it's a kind of acid, and I used sulfuric acid because it's acid. It's
Right.
another kind of acid.
So going into it, what did you expect was going to be the most effective?
I expected that this one was going to be the most effective, and I was right.
What did you learn from it?
I learned that some sodas have more carbonation than others. That's what makes it fizz up. It's the carbonation levels. Because the chemical reaction in Mentos reacts with the carbon dioxide and makes it all fizz up.
Great. So did you discover what is it in Mentos that causes them to explode, or do
Actually-
other items also cause sort of
Yes.
the fizz?
Rock salt. Rock salt also makes these fizz, but that wasn't one of my variables.
Okay.
We didn't have that. Mentos were just easier to get.
Yeah. So what do you think causes the heartbeat? Do you think that people's heartbeat go up based on how fast the music is, or how loud the music is, or what did you learn from it?
I think it's more like the fastness of it,
Okay.
and I had it all on the same volume.
Okay.
I was testing to see if warm water would be a better water source than ice water, town water, or home water.
Okay.
The reason I did this was to see whether regular warm water would be a better water source than regular water that some people use to water their plants.
Okay.
And I thought that would be kind of interesting to know that warm water would be better.
So what did you expect going into it? What was your initial thought of what would work better?
Well, I thought maybe ice would do better because it wouldn't like overkill the seeds. Maybe if you accidentally overwatered them with warm water. Plus on those hot days, it might cool it down.
Okay. So what did you find out?
Well, in my conclusion, I actually found out that town water is actually better because it grew to the height of 7 inches and it was taller than all the other ones. And then it did have a lot more sprout than ice water and warm water.
Okay, so what I did was I did 3 different shirts and I stained them with barbecue sauce, mustard, red wine, coffee, and Sharpie to see which would bring the best with oxygen and shout. And shout did the best, but my hypothesis was wrong and it was Gudon. And I did it because I don't know, it just came to me, and I thought it'd be easy, but it was actually pretty challenging to conduct.
Was this something your mom was complaining about you staining too many of your shirts?
Yeah.
So to find out which works best?
Yeah, so if I could redo it, I'd probably do grass stains too.
Well, I learned that salt doesn't dissolve very well in water. It was kind of hard to get it to dissolve.
Okay. Great. What were all the different materials that you used to test for?
Sucrose, sodium chloride, and sodium bicarbonate.
Okay.
I suspected this was going to win, and my hypothesis was correct.
Okay. And why did you think it was going to win?
Because the water kept it cool outside, and water goes out heat.
So what'd you learn from it?
I learned that be careful of going with air balloon against the candle.
I was trying to prove that the 99% isopropyl ammonium alcohol would shoot farther than the 70%.
Okay.
And it did. It shot 69 feet, and I thought that was pretty amazing. And the 70%
I only shot 42 feet.
So how many times did you test it to see how far it would shoot?
I tested it 3 times.
Okay. So what did you learn from it?
I learned that potato guns could be fun and that they could also be dangerous if you're not careful.
So I was doing different types of fertilizer. I used organic versus chemical. The organic fertilizer was a dried chicken poop. And then I used Miracle Grow fertilizer. And then the Miracle Grow ended up having the steadier growth pattern. And the chicken poop had kind of lower. And then the water had a weird, like it had different growth spurts. It would get taller than the Miracle Grow and stuff like that. And
Okay.
the purpose was to see if it was easier to just get fertilizer from home or if it was easier to go buy it from the store and which would work better. And it ended up being that the stuff you buy at the store is better.
Okay.
This is the Miracle Grow. It's dying right now because it's not in the sun where it usually is.
Did the results kind of match what you thought was going to happen? Or?
No.
No? Okay. What did you think was going to happen?
Well, I thought red was going to spread a lot faster than most of them. But
And why did you think red was going to do that?
because it's right in between the thickness of blue-green and almost that yellow thickness I thought it would, because I thought it'd be a little more better consistency than others.
So I wanted to see if the flavor of a Mento affects how high Pepsi erupts. And I hypothesized and said that mint flavored Mentos would make it Pepsi erupt higher because I researched and I typed in what if mint flavored Mentos would make Pepsi erupt higher. But it didn't come out when Coca-Cola came out, so I read that one. And it said that mint flavored made Coca-Cola erupt higher, so I thought since it made Coca-Cola erupt higher, it would make Pepsi erupt higher, and I was wrong.
Okay.
Flavored Mentos makes it go higher because it went 2.5 feet, and mint flavored only made it go 1 foot. And
Why is it that the longer you chew gum, the less effective bubble you can make?
These are the why?
Yeah, why?
Because the bubble, the gum is like chicory, which is like from a sapodilla tree, and it has this like rubber type substance in it, and when it gets chewed up too much, it gets the little tiny stuff gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So when you blow the bubble, it pops easier when you chew it.
Okay.
But when you hardly chew it and you blow the bubble, all those little tiny things are in the right spot.
So I did what are we drinking, and I tested these 5 water bottles to see if they had BPA in them.
Okay.
BPA is a chemical that is used to harden plastics and is found in infant bottles, sippy cups, the lining of food, of metal food cans, and cash register receipts, which is really odd.
Right.
But
So what does BPA do? It's
BPA is a chemical that is very controversial whether it's bad for you. But there has been a lot of studies on rats, and they have the studies on the rats have shown that it can cause further increased risk of cancer and early puberty. And
So what were you expecting to come from your experiment? What did you expect to find?
I expected to find that at least 1 or 2 of these water bottles would have BPA in them, just because it's so
Common?
yeah.
Okay, so I did which brand of sandwich bag will preserve food for the longest.
Okay.
And I had the Ziploc bag that you'll see on commercials, and everybody else thinks like just because they're more expensive, they're higher quality. And then I did the Safeway branded bag, the off-brand name, and it like, this is so hard. Okay, and then over 5 weeks, I did a test to see of which one. Well, I was kind of hoping for mold, but they both did their jobs because none of them grew mold. But on this one, it started to dry out in the corners and kind of started to get discolored. And in the cheaper brand, the Safeway brand, it's just almost exactly how it was when I put it in.
And this one is $2 less than this one. So lots of people buy this one just because it's higher price and better quality. And the reason why I did this experiment is because my parents were trying to save money at the store, and then they were like, well, they're wondering which one would do the best job. So I was like, oh, I might as well do that and see which one it was. And I was surprised that it was a Safeway one because nobody really buys them because people think because they're cheaper, they're not going to be best.
I chose it because I wanted to know how much bacteria I was drinking in my milk.
Okay. And what did you use to test that?
I used my test tube and my methylene blue and some hot water to see, and waited until it turned white again to see how much bacteria there's in there.
Okay. So you tried different brands, different types of milk, and what were you expecting to come out? What was your hypothesis?
I thought that the whole milk would have the most in it, and I was right.
Okay. Now, how did you discover that whole milk had the most bacteria?
Because it turned white the fastest after I put the blue in there.
I expected regular sugar to be better than brown sugar and Splenda.
Okay, and what did you find out?
That I was correct because, as you can see here, Splenda only grew an inch both days, and then day 7 it only grew another half an inch, and then brown sugar was 1.5, 2.5, then regular sugar was 2.5, 3 inches. And so my hypothesis was correct, and then my research was that when you mix water and sugar, you made a super saturated solution. This means that water could only hold the sugar if both were very hot. As the water cools, the sugar comes out of the solution back into sugar crystals on your skewer. The skewer and sometimes the glass crystals start to grow on, which with some luck and patience, you will have a tasty scientific treat to enjoy. And then my resource was Science Ball.
So did you get to eat your experiment afterwards? Always a bonus, right?
Yeah.
Great. So how much gum did you go through in the process to determine that?
A whole pack, because I did it wrong the first time I did my project. I did it really wrong, and then I used my last 2 pieces and I did it right, and then it was good.
It's always a bonus when you get to eat your experiment, right?
Yep.
So what did you learn from it?
I learned that extra gum is a way better deal because I also learned that at like supermarkets or like gas stations that they're the same price, and extra gum has longer lasting flavor and a whole extra piece in it. So if you're gonna buy gum, buy extra gum. It's better. Okay, so the purpose of my science experiment is to see which paper towel works better. And my question was, which will clean up a 1/4 cup of water better, Bounty or Pantry Essentials? And my hypothesis was that Bounty was going to use less paper towels to clean it up.
Why did you think Bounty was going to use less?
I don't know, just because it's like a better brand. And then the results were that Bounty absorbed better than Pantry Essentials towels. Bounty used 2 paper towels to clean up a 1/4 cup of water, and Pantry Essentials used 4 towels, 2 more than Bounty towels.
How many times did you try the experiment to verify it?
3.
3 times? Okay, great. So your theory on it was correct. So what did you learn from it?
I learned to buy Bounty because it's a better brand. I thought these carnations would absorb more dyed water because we've always done that. Like, we've never done anything before. And in the end, the carnations, the daisies actually did pretty well. But I thought these ones were the best. And these ones didn't color very well, and these ones were like in between. Okay, so what I did was I tested Pop Rocks with soda, with 3 different types of soda. And basically what I did is I poured Pop Rocks into a balloon and put the balloon on top of the soda and shook it and seen which one grew bigger. I think I chose this one because it just came as an interest to me, because I just thought of it more as an experiment because I like doing a lot of experimenting. Because one time I tried just doing soda and Mentos for fun at home when I was like in 4th grade.
Okay. So what did you think was going to happen with the experiment coming into it?
I thought that I didn't expect the balloons to grow as much because I got this idea from the internet, and the balloons didn't grow as as much as these did. They like went into a shape where it was like blown up at the top, not quite at the bottom. But I expected Pepsi to grow the most because I searched it, and Pepsi has the least amount of sugar, which gives it more room to carbonate, which actually causes it to blow.
Which candy bar melts the fastest in the microwave?
Okay.
And I did Hershey's Cookies and Cream and the Hershey's Mr. Good Bar.
Okay. Now, why did you choose those candy bars?
Because I thought that doing like just the dark chocolate and the milk chocolate would be really, really boring, because then I would probably know which one melted faster.
Okay. So which one did you think was going to melt faster before you started the experiment?
I thought Mr. Good Bar because of the peanuts. I knew that they would absorb the heat.
Okay. And what did you find out?
I found out that the Mr. Good Bar did melt the fastest because of the peanuts in them.
Okay. So what did you do to test looking for bacteria?
I basically dropped it on the counter. I put it in petri dishes and put a magnifying glass over it and saw how much bacteria was. And I counted how many specks there was and how much it was multiplied and stuff like that.
So what did you discover?
I discovered that it is not safe to eat food after 5 seconds that has fallen on the ground.
Okay. Was that what you were expecting to happen?
No, I really wasn't expecting that to happen.
So, in the future, if you ever drop any food, even if it's for 1 second, are you going to eat it?
Nope. Copper sulfate and sugar crystals.
Okay. So what did you learn from it?
I learned that iron crystals grew shorter than salt crystals.
I wanted to see which one would grow faster. The reason I put them in a bag is because like the cats around our house would start going to eat them. And so we had one inside, one outside to see which would actually grow faster.
Okay.
Like maybe bread would grow faster inside.
So what did you think going into the experiment was going to mold faster?
Well, during like the middle, I saw like in the third day, I kind of thought, why isn't the bread molding? And then so I kind of got to figure that the potato would probably mold more than the bread at the third day when I started it.
Okay. And why do you think that was, that the potato was molding more than the bread?
Maybe it needs like more air, like, because sometimes like if it's inside, maybe it's too. I think it's supposed to like the skin out around it. It's supposed to like protect it from all the heat.
I was seeing if the tire pressure would go up or down or stay the same.
Okay. And what did you discover?
It stayed the same.
So tire pressure stayed the same regardless how much weight was on there. Okay.
I thought rock music was going to turn out that you ate faster too instead of classical. But it turned out my hypothesis was wrong, and classical, the type of tempo the song goes by is how fast you eat.
So you learned that it's not the style of music, it's the pace of the music.
Like if it's faster and happier, you'll eat faster to it, but if it's sad and slow, you won't.
Okay.
I thought that the memory foam was gonna protect the egg the best, but I was wrong.
Okay, so what did you discover?
I discovered that rice works the best, and memory foam works second best, and the bubble wrap goes last.
So no longer shipping things with bubble wrap?
Yep. I did it on rust to see which liquid would make a nail rust the most.
Okay.
So my results are right here that the pre-weight of each nail was 3.5 grams. And then the water was 3.6, the Coke was 3.6, the vinegar stayed the same at 3.5. The lime out went down a tenth of a gram. The salt water went up a tenth of a gram, and the bleach was 6.0 grams, so it went up a lot.
Okay, so what did you think was going to happen going into your experiment?
I thought that the Coke was gonna rust the most.
Mm-hmm. And why did you think Coke was going to cause the most rust?
Because it's got a lot of acid in it.
Okay. And what did you discover in your experiment?
That the bleach, that the bleach rusted the most. So yeah, I shot 3 different brands of 243 bullets into the block of ballistic gelatin, and I was trying to prove which brand of 243 bullet goes in the most, and I did a cost comparison about like if the price actually matters, like how good the bullet is, and I found out that if like with the $31.99 box is the Hornady bullet, and then the $29.99 is the Federal bullet, and then there's the $22.99 bullet, which is a Fusion, and it's not actually better to buy the most expensive bullet. It's better to buy the least expensive bullet because it has 18 and a half. It goes in 18 and a half inches, where the Hornady only goes in like 14 inches, and the Federal goes in 15 inches.
Do you have a brand preference, or has this experiment changed which brand you like to use?
Yeah, it has. I used to like using Sally Hansen a lot because, but then now I'm probably going to be using Avon a lot more because it stays on a lot more.
Anything else that you learned from it?
No.
Okay.
Just don't really study with nail polish because you have difficulties with
Looking
it.
forward to have it over so you can fix all the fingers now.
The rubber band's on this part right here, and then, well, actually it's right here, and then I put the weights like right here, but I had to use different stuff, and the hot rubber band pulled 56 ounces.
Okay.
And the cold didn't last very long. It was 32 ounces.
Okay.
And this one tied with the hot 56 ounces.
Okay, so what did you expect was going to happen with your experiment?
I expected that one of the hot rubber bands was going to stretch further than the room temperature and the cold, but I was half right and half wrong.
So why did you think that the hot one was going to do better?
Because I figured since if you put them in hot water, that it'll make them a little bit melted and it makes them stretch more.
So what did you discover?
I discovered that the room temperature and the hot pretty much have the same flexibility for flexibility for when you weigh them.
Okay. So what were you trying to figure out with your experiment?
I was trying to figure out what would be better if you didn't get milk.
Okay. And what did you think was going to happen?
I thought that when I had people drink the milk, I thought that whole milk was going to be better than all the other milks.
Okay. So what did you discover?
I discovered that 2% was actually the better milk than whole milk.
Okay. And why is 2% better?
Well, in my research, I found out 2% was better because of its flavor and texture.
I wanted to see the static thrust of the small engines.
Okay.
And these aren't the exact engines I use, they're just ones that are very similar.
Okay. So what did you use to test static thrust?
With this fish scale, I use the digital one so I can get the points. So,
okay. So what did you do in terms of testing?
I had different size planes with these size engines in it.
Okay.
And I had that rack thing. I just used that plane as an example. And I hit this hook on the back of the rack, and it would rev up the plane, and the full throttle, and it would tell you how much. The 61 pulled about 28.4 pounds. The 40, which is this one here, pulled 18.2, and then this little one pulled 4.6.
So what were you expecting to happen with your experiment?
That this one would have a lot more than the others, noticeable amount.
And why?
Because it's
larger?
4-stroke. It's larger and it's 4-stroke, so I expected it to have more thrust because it's going to spin a bigger propeller.
And what did you discover?
That was actually this one because it had the ratio of the smallest literal size and the most thrust for the size.
So it's not always just how big the engine is, but how effective it is for its weight.
Okay, so first of all, I want to congratulate everybody, students and parents, on a job well done, because we know, I was the parent of a 6th grade student this year, so I kind of have a different perspective of science fair now. But we know that students and parents put in a lot of work, and we appreciate it. So good job at 6th graders, good job parents. You all did a wonderful job. So I'm always nervous as a teacher for my kids if they're going to get it finished, if they're going to show up on Wednesday morning with their science fair project. And I always say, I don't want to do science fair ever again, and parents probably think the same thing, but I'm always so impressed with the kids and how excited they are when they do show up Wednesday morning that they have accomplished this and that they've done something great and they get to share it all day. So it's really fun to see the kids show up and see how proud they are of themselves and the job that they did. So thank you for being supportive of your students, and thank you. So for the moment we're waiting for, we have 7 winners this year. We had 2 judges, and they went around and talked with all of the students, kind of conducted an interview. The students did a great job of sharing their investigation with the judges, and we came up with 7 winners. So here, find out who they are. So in no specific order, we have our first winner, What Are We Drinking by Allison Hussey. So Allison did a great science fair project. She studied different water bottles and if they actually contain BPA. And it was quite interesting. So I know that I personally will be looking at the bottom of my water bottles for a number, and that number indicates if it contains BPA or not. So thank you for that information, Allison. Our second winner is Ballistics Penetrates, I think, by Logan Price. So Logan did a really neat one with the big blob of slime that we came around and he just quick, without even thinking, threw us a big slab of slime right in our hands. And, but he studied the ballistics of bullets and which type of bullet will penetrate further in that ballistics gel. So good job, Logan. Next was Why So Tense by Zachary, Reese. Zachary did different liquids and their surface tension. Is that right, Zachary? After I spoke with Zachary, I felt like he should be teaching science. So we're always enlightened when we have a conversation with Zachary. Great job, Zach. Next one was Flying Potatoes by Kaden Ray. So we had quite the little inventor with a potato gun. In fact, I thought when he explained it to me, I wasn't getting it, and then he showed us how he invented this little potato gun and studied what type of fuel works best in this potato gun to launch the piece of potato. It was very, very good. Our next one was Fire and H2O by Mikayla Sargenti. So Mikayla used a water bottle as a magnifying glass to ignite different types of paper, studying what type of paper is most flammable using just a water bottle to ignite it. So she's who I want to be with in the outdoors if we get stranded, if we have a bottle of water. So next one, the Fans of Power, David said. So David had the most interesting story with his fans. He actually refurbished an antique fan that's completely cast iron, and he studied what works better, fans of today or fans of 40 years ago, I think, 50 years ago. So it was quite interesting, and he said, I knew that the older one would work better. Old stuff always works better. So, and I think at times we would agree. They just don't make them like they used to, right? The last one was Power Up by Forrest Waller. Forrest did a study of different motors, and in his model airplane, it was a very original science fair project, so very appreciative of that. He did a great job, so there are winners. And I think everybody deserves an honorable mention one more time. You guys all did a great job.
Everyone's kind of bunched up.